Fucking
Hello.
God-given name, so.
That is true. He is a human being. You are a human being. And on that note, welcome to the Just Us Express. Just a little opening thought there. I feel like that's better than me saying hello. But welcome to the Just Us Express. My name is Just Us, and today we have Shannon on the podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty well.
Good, good. I'm really glad that you came on the podcast. Thank you so much. So for those of you who don't know or recognize Shan, he's been on the channel before. He was in the video, what was the first time experiencing VR? That was the one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That video didn't really do a lot, but then we made a short after the whole Will Smith slapped Chris Rock thing at the whole Will Smith at the Oscars thing, and we made a short and that got like 2,000 plus views. Like we edited like one of your responses in the video as like a reaction to what happened. What did you even say? What did you say?
If I remember correctly, it was something along the lines of, okay, then.
I do remember that. Oh yeah, you're literally just like standing here, just like, okay then. That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. So for those of you who don't really know Shan that well, he's been an old friend of mine, and I've known him for quite some time. And I'm really happy to have him come on here. You're really passionate about gaming. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So earlier I was thinking about this question, and this question is really important to me. But if you could do one thing for the rest of your life, like just one thing that you're really passionate about that you enjoy a lot, which might be gaming, but if you could do that thing for the rest of your life without fear of judgment and without lack of resources, what would that thing be?
Streaming old nostalgic games that I've played in my past,
Okay.
but
Okay.
for the newer generation to experience how good games were, even back in the 90s.
Oh, okay. So you don't just play new games, you play old games too. You play all sorts of games.
Yes.
Okay, what's an example of an old game that's really good but that people don't really appreciate?
There is a game, I believe, back on the Nintendo 64, the Super Nintendo, which was called Super Metroid.
Super Metroid?
Yes.
And what's the game about?
You play as this character that has a power suit and all of this stuff, which was not a
Right.
lot fancy back then, but the fact that this was more of a sci-fi bounty hunter that was going after a certain target that she needed to kill.
Okay. All right, I'm following you.
And she was on the hunt to hunt down this target, but stuff went kind of sideways. So she incidents lead to the part where she loses all of her power-ups, and basically you have to go from scratch and hunt down bosses, hunt down items to gain back these abilities.
Kind of like life almost.
Pretty much, yeah.
How much time do you spend gaming? Like, would you say? I know you work a job and stuff like that, but how much time do you say you would game?
When it's my days off, I easily game from 9 in the morning, roughly Sundays, till 1, 2 in the morning.
Wow. Wow, are you joking right now?
No.
Are you being serious right now? I'm for real. Forget about the podcast. Are you being real right now?
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, that's crazy. Because I start work at like 10 in the morning, and and then I go till like 10 at night. But dude, that's real dedication right there. You just showed me up. I gotta start working till like from like 9. I have to work from 9 in the morning till 2, and I can't work till just 1 or 2. I have to work till like 3 because I have to best you. I have to do better. So now you put me in this freaking situation. It's not right. But I'm up for the challenge. So moving on, I'm curious, like, because when you're doing this stuff, what's your favorite food?
Something I can eat one-handed.
I didn't say that. You said that. So what's your favorite food?
Most of the time it's burgers, because I can eat
No
those with
way.
one hand, continue
I
eating.
I eat a burger every single morning for breakfast.
Hmm.
Every day. There's not been a day for months and months now that I have not eaten a burger. So I respect that. You say your favorite food is a burger, we just became best friends. So what's your favorite drink? Like burger, what do you like to drink with the burger?
Well, it depends on the burger, if it's just a regular cheeseburger or if it's a double stack. Depends on the version of the burger.
That's a good point. Good point.
it can vary from a cup of soda, which would be normally A&W or root beer,
Classic
to
choice.
something as that some people may not know is not your grandfather's root beer.
Where did they sell that?
It is actually at Walmart.
Really? Okay. I will have to check
The
that out.
reason why I say not your grandfather's root beer is because it's an alcoholic root beer, but it is a good root beer.
Okay. Well, I don't really promote drinking, but that does sound good. That does sound good. That sounds like a good like Sunday after dinner drink. If I'm being honest, that sounds pretty good.
That's mainly when I would drink it.
There you go. See, you were thinking the same thing. I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, okay. So you play a lot of games and stuff like that. I so recently I look at these different games. I'm like, dude, these games are so they have such a huge story now. Like some of these games, like they have like because I remember sitting with you and watching you play some of these games, and like they're just these massive stories sometimes that are involved. So like they're almost like their own little miniature movies, but movies that you get to play and affect the consequences.
Yeah, there's quite a few that are like that. There's an older series, not old, but older because it's more like in the 2000 series,
Okay,
2000 generation,
I mean that's
and
good.
it
We're
is
getting
known
there.
as Mass Effect.
Mass Effect.
Yes, that
Okay.
game literally was one of the first games that I can remember off the top of my head where your decisions actually have consequences or it has fucking repercussions depending.
Cool. So in that spirit, then, like because you know video games have kind of a lot of them have become kind of movies. What would you say what would you consider to be the best movie of all time?
The best movie, I would have to honestly go with uh the old school Transformers movie that's from 1984, if I'm not mistaken.
Not that's not directed by Michael Bay.
No, it is not.
Wow, that's really interesting. We'll have to talk about that right after we take a brief ad break because I didn't even know that Transformers had a movie before Michael Bay. Very interesting stuff. Definitely stick around. We'll be back with Shan in just a minute.
Are you ready?
You killed me. You buried me. Right here. I can't be undone.
You're not real. You're a voice in my head. Can you feel it? Your insanity.
I thought this would be different. I thought things would change, but they haven't. I'm still just as guilty as I was before.
Are you ready?
All right, welcome back to the JustUs Express. My name is JustUs, and we're here with my guest Shannon, and we're both hungry. I'm not gonna lie to you. I realized on the first session that I wasn't really being myself. I wasn't being my normal exuberant self, and I apologize for that. I want to apologize to you personally for that. But now that I have a sandwich, I think that we are good to go. So I think we're gonna jump in with my first question. We're gonna let you answer the question while I take a bite of my sandwich because I'm rude. I'm a very rude individual. So how long have you, so we were talking about video games. How long have you been playing video games?
How long have I been playing video games? Let's
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
I've been playing video games ever since I was about, I think it was about 5, now that I think about it.
5.
I wasn't playing major games like I was when I hit 10.
Real quick, can I ask how old you are now?
I am 29.
29. So you've been playing video games for 24 years.
I'm coming on 25 this year. Jesus Christ.
Wow, so almost 25 years you've been playing video games. That is a long time. So, okay, what was the first game you played, and what's the latest game that you've played?
God, the first one. Hold up. It had to be Pokemon Yellow or Tetris, one of the two, back on a Game Boy Pocket.
What's a Game Boy Pocket?
It's essentially a Game Boy. It's an older Game Boy that most people will know what it looks like. I do say most, at least from the gamer audience. But even looking it up, it is a old handheld Nintendo device that predates the. I say predate lightly. That makes me feel older than what I am.
Okay, listen, man, you have been playing video games for almost 25 years, so I mean, I'm not going to say it, but hey, man, I've been doing this for a while too, so proceed.
Yeah, it's an older Game Boy. You can think of it, it's an older version of the Nintendo DS. A very old version of that, because this was also back when devices couldn't flip, screens were black and white, and they had a contrast feature.
Word. So what's the latest game that you've played?
It is actually a game that only just came out called Power World. Yeah, Power World. Because it is essentially Pokemon, but with guns.
The extent of my familiarity with Pokemon is the Pokemon Go app that was trending a while back.
It was essentially like that. It's like it has Pokemon similar to that, but they're called pals in the game.
Okay.
They may look like Pokemon, but the fact that, some Pokemon will just whip out a minigun, or some will whip out an AK, an SMG. It is ridiculous.
It sounds ridiculous. So you've been playing games for almost 25 years, right? So what would you, that's a long time. What would you say is your biggest gaming accomplishment?
My biggest gaming accomplishment is honestly finding a group of friends that actually accept me for who I am while we play the same games together.
Wow. I honestly didn't expect you to say that. I've known you for a while. I honestly didn't expect that answer from you. Can you explain to me what you mean by that?
What I mean by that is I have a group of friends that I normally chat with from day-to-day basis. Even if it's a day that I have to go to work, I still chat with them, because honestly, it just feels wrong going more than a day without chatting with them, because the games that we play half the time require teamwork, or just honestly, it's funner to have when you have friends. Let's just put it that way. As simple as that.
I honestly didn't expect that answer. I thought maybe you'd tell me the most kills that you've had, or the most expensive game that you've bought, or something like that. But that, I don't know, that gives me kind of a whole new perspective on your passion for gaming, honestly.
It's bad when I'm not a huge PvP player, which to put it simple, it is player versus player.
Okay.
So most people can reference that to what Call of Duty is now. I used to play Call of Duty because of the damn storyline that they had.
So for those of you who don't know, I actually was looking this up on the break. Call of Duty is the fourth most played video game in the world, I'm pretty sure. They have multiple games, but one of their Call of Duty games is the fourth most played game in the world. Am I correct about that?
For the most part, yes. And I love the fact that there are games that actually still get outplayed by it, because the chances of you running into teammates, if you're doing squads with random people, there is a chance you will come across a squad that will absolutely carry you, or that will help or will drag you down.
That sounds like real life.
You're not wrong.
I mean, I'm not. But here's the thing, real quick. I'm going to interject there real quick. This was before I ever even met you, so this is really cool that we're having this conversation, because we never really had this type of a conversation before. But before I ever met you, when I was a lot younger, I remember my family had a period of time where we visited and we traveled the country. And we visited a lot of different churches, and one of the churches that we visited, I remember going into their youth program or whatever, their youth Sunday program, with all the other kids. And I remember the teacher was just, whoever was talking, I don't even remember what she was saying. It was that bad. She was being so negative and so just down, and just everything she was saying was just so, it just really got me down. So I raised my hand. I was like, can I say something? And the teachers looked at me like I was crazy. Did this kid just raise a hand? One of the teachers literally looked over and said, is he allowed to do that? I will never forget that. Am I allowed to raise my hand? That's ridiculous. Am I
Yeah, it is.
allowed to raise my hand?
It's almost as bad as some people saying. It's like, the most. Some people say this: the stupidest question to ask is the one you don't ask.
Exactly. So, dude, so I was like, am I allowed? That's ridiculous. So they said they're like, well, you have this, what's your question or whatever. And I didn't have a question. I just kind of had an analogy, and I never even really played video games, but I had friends who had played video games, and I was like, life is like a video game. Like level one of a video game is relatively easy, relatively simple, not a lot going on, but it gives you a few skills, and it helps you get to level two. Level two is more difficult, and it just gets progressively harder. But you couldn't jump into a game at level 50. You have to go through all 49 levels in order to beat level 50. And it's just like life. Life, you have to
Or to
experience.
even attempt to challenge level 50. Let's put it that way. With some people,
Exactly. And a lot of people, they're trying to do stuff that they don't even know how to do because they haven't even tried starting at level 1 yet. So I love the conversation we're happening here. So, like, what advice would you give to beginning gamers? And like, what game what's a good game you'd recommend? Like, what advice would you recommend? What advice would you give to beginning gamers?
honestly, for beginners, there is one thing that I always do, and it's called trial and error. So, like, if one strategy works for one game, not all the time that's going to work for another. So you gotta feel around. You gotta wade around in the water, I think is what they would say. In other words, you got to get a feel for it, and once you get the feel for it, you can pretty much breeze through almost any challenge that comes across your way.
Dude, every time that I ask you a question about a game, I feel like your answer is about just life. So, wow. We're coming to the end of the podcast. I know that you're trying to build a bit of an audience for yourself, and you're trying to really get into the point where you can like start streaming your gaming and stuff like that. So where can people find you? Where can people look you up?
I do stream onto 2 different platforms now. I went from 1 to 2.
Okay.
I do stream on YouTube and Twitch, and both of them, to find me, the easiest way would be my gamer tag that I use for 90% of my games, and it's at Shanito. So it'd be SHANNONITOO.
Well, you don't have to bother spelling it because it's already in the description below. All you gotta do is just click the link. It'll take you right to his stuff, and you can look at it for yourself. But thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, man. I really appreciate it a lot, and I hope that we'll have you on here again if you're interested, if you're open to that. What do you think? Thoughts? Come back? What do you think?
As long as the people are welcoming to have me come back.
All right, if you guys want him back, definitely let us know. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. You have an excellent day, and the same to everyone watching this video. Bye, Shan.
See ya.